Now, earlier today, Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch set out her plans to reform Britain's welfare system. Moments ago, our political correspondent Olivia Utley sat down with the Tory leader.
Kemi Badenoch, nearly 1 million Brits aren't working. You say you're happy to tell it like it is. Is this generation of young people, on average, more lazy and entitled than their parents' generation?
So you're talking about 1 million young people. I think the number of Brits not working is 6 million, but we're talking about the young people who are not in education, employment or training. That is not right. I think that it is a complex problem. It's not just laziness or entitlement. Many of them don't have jobs to go to. Many employers saying that they can't afford to employ young people. It's too expensive because they need a lot of training. We need to make sure we create the jobs and also have that pushed so that they understand that they've got to get to work. The welfare state doesn't exist for people who just don't feel like working.
So it's not just a question of laziness and entitlement, but you do believe that there are people deliberately gaming the system to get more money out of the state. That does sound a bit like laziness and entitlement.
Definitely people gaming the system. We have seen evidence of it. You look on social media, you have these sickfluencers who actually talk about how to call up the benefits office and say you have anxiety, you can't turn up. We've just got to scrap that stuff. We need to be firm and fair, not just trying to be fair and accommodate everyone's wish. We also need to stop paying benefits to people who are not from this country. We've got reciprocal deals with the EU so that British citizens can get things in the EU. But with other countries, we don't need to be paying benefits and giving everyone, social housing and so on in the way that we are doing. We want people who come to our country to be able to contribute to our country, not just come here because it's an easy life and take us for a ride.
Do you think the majority of people on benefits with mental health conditions, i.e. more than 50%, could work given the right support and the right jobs?
We need to make sure that they do have support. And yes, I do think that there is a lot more that we can do to get them into work. The numbers that we're seeing now are astronomical. It is not feasible for 1 in 4 people to be self-reporting as disabled. That's not right. The definition of disability has been expanded beyond what we used to understand it to be. What can we do to help those people? How can we make sure we tighten up a lot of loopholes which are allowing people who can work not to work?
This press conference, complete with the Tory faithful cheering you on, felt straight from the Nigel Farage playbook. Do you think Nigel Farage is a good politician, and are you taking a leaf out of his book?
Well, I'm taking a leaf out of the Conservative book, which is to make sure we talk about what we believe in and why. And I think for too long, actually, we didn't do that. We were so busy being in government, we forgot to make the argument. I want us to start making arguments again, remind people not just what we're doing, but why we're doing it, why certain things don't work. So, people said they weren't seeing enough of me, so I'm coming out as much as possible to make sure that they hear the Conservative message.
Your personal data could be exposed right now without you even knowing it. And if you want it removed, use incogni.com/GBNews in the description now and get 60% off an annual plan on us. Incogni reach out to the data brokers on your behalf and request that your information be deleted from their databases. And they'll keep sending removal requests to make sure your data stays gone. Sometimes your information ends up on strange, obscure websites that automated tools just can't reach. And that's why Incogni just launched their unlimited plan with a feature called Custom Removals. With this, you can submit any link where your personal information appears, literally paste in the URL, and their privacy team will investigate and work to get it removed. And getting started is super easy. Hit the link in the description, create an Incogni account, and tell them whose data you want removed. Grant them permission to work on your behalf, and then all you've got to do is sit back and relax. They'll keep you updated along the way. Incogni is totally risk-free for 30 days. If you try it, it's not for you, you'll get a full refund. So take back control of your personal data today with Incogni. Use our code GBNews at checkout via the link in the description, and you'll get 60% off an annual plan.
What you believe sounds quite similar to what Nigel Farage believes, both on welfare. This reminds me of a press conference I went to about a month ago, which Lee Anderson was talking at, and on immigration as well. Would you ever, under any circumstances, consider an informal or formal alliance or coalition with Reform?
So Reform doesn't actually believe what we believe on welfare. They wanted to lift the two-child benefit cap, paying families £3,500 for every child that they have. This is on top of child benefit, which is not capped for number of children. We're the only party who voted against that. We're the only party who stood up for all those hardworking people out there. And I want them to know that there's only one party that's standing up for the working man and woman, for all those people who are struggling and feel that no one's speaking up for them. And that's the Conservative Party.
Just very quickly, the chair of the grooming gangs inquiry and the terms of reference are set to be announced in Parliament later today. Have you been consulted about that?
No, but you would have noticed that we had a press conference yesterday asking the government, to pull their socks up and do this. We even wrote a terms of reference for them. So as always, the Conservative Party is having to do the homework, not just for Labour, but also for Reform, explaining to them how things work so that we can actually just get things moving. We called for a grooming gang inquiry a year ago and Keir Starmer dismissed it. We forced a U-turn. We're the ones who are standing up for those victims. This is not about political parties. It's about making sure we get justice for those victims. And what I'll be looking out to see is if the victims and survivors themselves are happy with what the government has done. We know that the government was very happy to kick this into the long grass. If they bring something that is substandard to Parliament, we will be holding them to account.
Kemi Badenoch, thank you very much.
Thank you, Olivia.
Oh, that was Kemi Badenoch earlier speaking to Olivia Utley, but we can now speak directly to Olivia Utley, our political correspondent at GBNews. Olivia, so we have now the news of the new chair for the inquiry. Your thoughts on this?
So Baroness Longfield, the former Children's Commissioner, she was widely respected on both sides of the House, and there will be relief on the Labour backbenches that there is finally a chair. We await detail on the terms of reference. It'll be really interesting to see, as Kemi Badenoch there said yesterday, the Conservatives released some terms of reference for the grooming gangs inquiry, and it'll be interesting to see whether that has been incorporated into what Labour says. In that interview there, you heard Kemi Badenoch saying that the Conservatives have done the work for Labour and Reform. I thought it was interesting too that when I asked her directly whether she would ever consider under any circumstances a formal or informal alliance or coalition with Reform, the Conservative leader didn't actually rule it out. It was fascinating to me how similar that press conference today felt to the ones that I've been going to recently that Nigel Farage and Lee Anderson have been hosting. They've got the party faithful behind them. It's almost the style of a Trump rally getting the faithful on board. It seems like Kemi Badenoch has taken on a lot of feedback over the past few months. If you remember those first 6 months when we heard almost nothing from the leader of the opposition, she now seems to realise that taking away and having time to reflect just isn't something that she has the luxury of doing. She must be forward and visible all the time. Today, this press conference wasn't really anything new. She was toughening up her line on welfare. She said, and this is the first time she said it in such explicit terms, that people who come here from other countries should not be entitled to benefits. She said we need to scrap this when talking about people who are gaming the system or trying to exaggerate their disabilities in order to get more money out of the taxpayer. I also asked her during the press conference whether the triple lock, which we now know costs £11 billion more per year than pensions simply rising in line with wages, should be scrapped. She had a better and clearer rehearsed answer than the last time I asked her that question. She said that no, it shouldn't be scrapped. Changing the way pensions are done is simply dividing up the money in different ways. Anyone can divide up people's money. The Conservatives are the only party who can get the economy growing again. The Conservatives clearly now have a much, much stronger message than they've had at any time over the past 18 months. And it does seem that it's beginning to cut through a little bit with the public. The Conservatives polling is just beginning to inch its way up. But as yet, the next election